Welcome to Duke Devil 95. My name is Brad Burnett, and today we're going to be talking about episode 6 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard. This episode is titled The Bounty. The USS Titan is still on the run from Starfleet. It's dropping transponder beacons to try to throw Starfleet off its trail. The Shrike is still chasing down the Titan, finding transponders along the way. Vadic knows that Frontier Day is just 72 hours away, and she needs to find Jack Crusher before then. She tells her crew to track down any friend, associate, or family member of Jean-Luc Picard. On the Titan, Beverly tells Picard that Jack has been suffering from hallucinations, visions. She conducted some tests which revealed that Jack has inherited Irumodic syndrome from Picard. That's the neurological disease that ultimately killed Picard in the first season of the show. Picard finds Jack in the holodeck. He's drinking bourbon. He says he's celebrating the fact that he isn't crazy. He just has his fatal disease. He then says it's too bad that Picard isn't as good as passing on his genes as he is as passing on his wisdom. Worf and Raffi beam aboard the Titan. After a brief friendly reunion, Worf explains that there's much to discuss. In the conference room, he explains how the Changelings have reemerged as a threat since the Dominion War. They have to figure out what was the weapon that the Changelings stole from Daystrom Station, and the way they're going to do that is obtain the station manifest from the primary vault. Worf says that the vault is protected by a lethal AI system. Picard says that this is the only way to clear their names and to save Starfleet. The Titan arrives at Daystrom Station. Riker, Worf, and Raffi transport aboard. The security system threatens to use lethal force if they don't identify themselves. Fortunately, Worf is able to use the key he got from the Vulcan gangster to bypass the system. Meanwhile, Starfleet has tracked down the Titan. Starships are closing in, and Ensign LaForge notices that those starships are armed with weapons which will allow them to track the Titan after they get a hit on the ship. So Picard tells the away team that they have to run, but they're going to try to come back. He tells LaForge to set a course for Ethan Prime, and the Titan then warps away. On Daystrom, the away team is working their way to the vault to obtain the manifest. Along the way, they see the various items and things that are stored there. Some of the things include a second Genesis device, the body of Captain James T. Kirk, and a mutated Tribble, which kind of scares Worf for a moment. The station's AI identifies Riker, and suddenly a holographic crow appears. The away team then hears musical notes, and another hologram appears. It's Professor Moriarty from the Next Generation episode where Data and Geordi were playing Holmes and Watson on the holodeck. Moriarty opens fire on them with a pistol, and it's clear that the safety protocols are off. Riker then suddenly recognizes the music, and it's a tune he's heard before. He heard it when he first came on the Enterprise. It's called Pop Goes the Weasel, and it's only part of the tune. So he whistles the end of the tune, a response, just like he did when he first met Data on the holodeck of the Enterprise D. The Moriarty hologram goes marvelous, and vanishes. The away team is then able to get into the vault, and in there, they find what appears to be an android that looks just like Data. The Titan arrives at Ethan Prime. That's the location of the Starfleet Fleet Museum, where all the famous ships are kept. The director of the museum hails, and it's Commodore Geordi LaForge. He tells Picard to have the Titan power down all of its non-essential systems. It's clear he's not happy to see them there. LaForge and his daughter Alondra beam onto the Titan. He gives a curt greeting to Picard and his daughter Sydney and tells Picard they have to talk. In the conference room, Picard asks Geordi to change the Titan's transponder so they can run from Starfleet and rescue Riker and Worf from the Daystrom station. Geordi's not happy about this whole situation. He's not happy to hear that his friends are in danger and that he would help if he could, but he can't. Because as his daughter Alondra explains, the starships are now all integrated, which means they are talking to each other. So the Titan itself is a beacon, and it's only a matter of time before Starfleet can catch up with them. But more than anything, Geordi is upset that Picard has endangered the life of his daughter Sydney. He says that he understands that when he was on the Enterprise, he fully ran into danger, knowing that he was making that choice for himself. But as a father, he can't let his daughter do that. And he can't protect Picard and protect his kids at the same time. On the bridge of the Titan, Jack joins Seven, and they start looking at some of the ships in the Fleet Museum. Jack apparently is a starship connoisseur and recognizes a lot of them. He sees the USS Defiant, he sees the USS New Jersey, a Constitution-class ship, and his favorite, the Enterprise A, Captain Kirk's old vessel. The Voyager comes up, but he doesn't recognize it. And that's when Seven says, that's where she was reborn. That was her home, and the crew was her family. We then see the HMS Bounty. That is the bird of prey that Kirk and his crew commandeered and used in Star Trek IV. Seven said it took some time for Starfleet to recover it from San Francisco Bay after it sank. Why? Because a cloaking device activated on it. And then Jack suddenly has an idea. Picard returns to the bridge and says Geordi can't help them. He tells Sydney that her father wants to speak with her. In the conference room, Geordi tells Sydney that she is going to be staying here at the Fleet Museum. And Sydney protests. She says she's not leaving the Titan or her crew. And Geordi tells her that the crew is not her family. And she says they are, just like the Enterprise D crew was your family. And she walks off, refusing to go with Geordi. As Seven and Picard talk about needing to go talk to Shaw and come up with a new strategy, Jack approaches the two LaForge sisters and says, I have an idea. And he wants to know how they feel about committing some minor larceny. Back on Daystrom Station, the away team has discovered that this Data they see in front of them is not an android, but a synthetic, kind of like Picard's new body is. A hologram of Alton Soong appears and explains that he created this new golem with aspects of all the prior Soong androids and with a lot of data in it. Unfortunately, he died before he was able to integrate all the personalities. Raffi wonders why Starfleet would use, a malfunctioning, insane AI to guard Daystrom. And Riker says that Data is unique, more advanced than anything the Starfleet could make. And then they realize that Data is actually not protecting the manifest. He is the manifest. He knows everything that goes on in the station. He sees everything, which means he's going to know what the changeling stole. But at that time, suddenly Starfleet has arrived at Daystrom Station, and the security officers are closing in on the away team. On the bridge of the Titan, Geordi and Alondra are preparing to leave when suddenly the Titan experiences a burst of electromagnetic radiation. The ship is cloaking, going in and out of a cloak. LaForge accuses Picard of stealing the cloaking device from the bird of prey. Picard says he would never do that. I would never steal from you, Geordi. And that's when both men realize who the real culprits are. It's Jack and Sydney. Picard then pleads for Geordi to help. And down in engineering, Sydney and Jack are working to try to install the cloaking device, try to get it working properly. But Sydney says, look, if this doesn't go right, there's a chance we could really damage the ship, possibly destroy it. At that point, Geordi arrives and says, I'm going to help install the cloak. And then he looks at Jack and says, just stay away from my daughter. Back on Daystrom Station, Starfleet is closing in on the away team. Raffi's working on freeing Data from the station itself. Picard contacts Riker and Worf and says they're on their way. They're going to decloak the ship and beam them aboard. Riker wonders how are they decloaking the ship, and Worf says, well, clearly it's superior Klingon technology. Before they can get there, though, in time, Starfleet's getting closer. So Riker goes to hold off the security team. Phaser in hand, he starts firing back at the security team, and he's able to disable some of them, but they capture him in the process. Just in the nick of time, the Titan decloaks, beams away Worf, Raffi, and Data, and warps away from the scene. In the Titan's sickbay, Geordi is trying to get Data back online. He warns he doesn't know which personality will emerge. When Data comes online, he instantly recognizes Geordi and says, Captain, when he sees Picard. He then cycles through the personalities of Lore, B4, and Alton Soong. All the while, Picard is asking Data, can you tell us what was taken from Daystrom Station? And Data just repeats, Jean-Luc Picard, Jean-Luc Picard, Jean-Luc Picard. They're wondering, what is wrong with Data? Is it a glitch? Is it something that they can't fix? And that's when Data projects the holographic image of what was stolen. What was stolen by the changelings was the corpse of Jean-Luc Picard. We're back on Daystrom Station, and Riker is being interrogated by a Starfleet officer. This interrogation involves punching Riker a lot. After several punches, the officer pulls his phaser and turns it on the other Starfleet personnel there and reveals that this officer is, in fact, Vadic. Vadic takes Riker onto the Shrike. Riker is firm in his stance that, look, I'm not going to betray my friends for 35 years. There's nothing you can do to me that would get me to do that. And that's when Vadic reveals that she has taken Deanna Troi as her prisoner. So again, it's just another really, really good episode. The title, when I first heard it, I thought it was referring to Jack Crusher because, Vadic was referred to as a bounty hunter and he was the bounty. But it turned out to be something I did not expect. The HMS Bounty, the bird of prey that Kirk and his crew commandeered and used in Star Trek 4. I did not see that coming, and it just totally worked in the plot. Easter eggs and good stuff. All the stuff at Daystrom. The mutant tribble, the Genesis 2 device. Now, if you go back and look at that, it doesn't say 2 as the numeral 2. It says 2 as a Roman numeral 2. And if you really know some Roddenberry lore, you know that he had, I think, a show or movie called Genesis 2, Roman numeral 2, back in the early 70s. So I'm thinking that's a call out to that as well. James T. Kirk. Thank God they did not leave his body on Viridian 3 on top of that mountain. How did Picard even get him up there at the end? I mean, he was down at the bottom of a canyon after Soren killed him in that very sad, pathetic way. Not a good way for James T. Kirk to end. It happened. They dealt with it. Whatever. But now he gets some respect. Why are they keeping his body? I'd like to know that too. What else? All right, the starships. Okay, so great stuff. Of course, love seeing all the classic ships. The USS New Jersey. No, it's not one of the original 13 Constitution class ships. But I think from what I've heard online and read, New Jersey is where Terry Matalas is from. The registry number is NCC 1975, which is the year that Matalas was born, I believe. So you know what? Look, you're running your own show. You want to name a planet after yourself. You want to have your own starship. Knock yourself out. You know what? You're doing a good job. Go ahead. I don't care. It's fun. As they showed each ship, you heard the music from every show. That was so cool. Just that tiny little nod and respect to the past that I felt like has been missing. All the connections to Data on Daystrom Station. When we see the Crow, we see Moriarty, and Pop Goes the Weasel. First time that Riker encountered Data, Data was trying to whistle. He couldn't whistle for crap. It's nice to see all these things called back. And yes, it is Easter eggs. It's member berries. And I don't care. You know why? I'm enjoying the show. I'm enjoying Star Trek again. I haven't done that in years. So whatever, I don't care what other people on the internet say. That this is betrayal of true Star Trek. There's still Kurtzman label on it. I'm going to enjoy it. The heck with them. Screw it. Great Shaw moment. You got to have a good Shaw moment because, again, I'm liking Shaw more and more. He's geeking out. He's literally fanboying over Geordie LaForge. And I know there's some wording, some phrasing in there, which is a little too 20th century and the 25th century for me, but it's kind of neat. And Geordie's like, your ship looks like, it's great marvel of engineering, but it's kind of falling apart. What the heck's going on? And Shaw just goes, yeah, it's been a weird week. Like I said before, I'm around. I wanted to see a Titan show. But now to like the whole theme of this whole theme of this episode, in my opinion. First off, this to me is the most TNG episode yet. Everything else had a very cinematic feel, but this really felt TNG to me. We had, the conference room scenes. We had the away team scenes. This felt like a Next Generation episode more than anything else so far. And I know it was called The Bounty, but I think it could have been called Family Part 2. And what I mean by that is Family was the second episode in season 4. right after Best of Both Worlds Part 2, where the Borg were defeated and Picard was rescued and, no longer was Locutus. In that episode, there was all these ties and connections to their families. Picard returned home to Chateau Picard, and he reconciled with his brother. Worf was visited by his parents, his Russian parents, and he reconciled with them. And then we saw, Wesley Crusher seeing a recording from his father. So though that episode was all about connections to family. And that's what this episode was. It's about family dynamics and legacy. And first, let's talk about Jack. So, Jack is really upset about what he's finding out about himself. He says, okay, I'm not crazy, but I got this fatal disease. Thanks to you, Dad. Thanks, Jean-Luc. You gave me this disease. But eventually, towards the end of the show, after talking with people on the ship, Seven in particular, he realizes that he didn't just get a disease from Picard. He says, I got all these great qualities from my mom, but he had all these qualities, courage, loyalty, wisdom beyond his age. He didn't know where those came from until a week ago when he met Jean-Luc Picard. So yeah, maybe he got this disease. At the same time, there's a lot of good stuff that he also got from Picard as well. So that's a nice kind of reconciliation moment. Geordi, wow. This is really some good stuff with LeVar Burton and his daughter Sydney. It's nice that his daughter Mika Burton was able to be on there, be Alondra. She got to be part of something that she saw her dad doing growing up. So there's that family connection. But the growth in Geordi, the difference in Geordi is really great. So, when we, Geordi back on the Enterprise D, as he says, look, I ran into danger. I put my life on the line with Picard and my crew. That's what I did. I was young. And he didn't have anything. But now, he's a father. He's got 2 daughters. He's got his wife. And he feels his job as a father is to protect his kids. He would put his life on the line for Picard when it's just his life. But now when it's his child's life, he can't do that. He as a father can't do that. And then we get to see some of the conflict between Geordi and Sydney when she talks with him in the conference room. And it's like she made the choice not to become an engineer, but she became a pilot because she wanted to fly the things that her dad built. Again, Geordi didn't start as an engineer. Geordi started as a pilot of the Enterprise D. She knows she's different from her dad and her sister, but that doesn't mean they're not her family. She doesn't appreciate them. Geordi tries to explain that I'm trying to protect you. You're my family. The Titan is not your family. And she just turns it right around on him. And she's totally right. She goes, the Titan is my family. The Titans of my family, the same way the Enterprise D crew was your family. You went on all these adventures with Picard, Riker, Worf, all of them. You told me all about them. That was your family. And that was your family. This is my family. You stood by your crew, your family. I'm going to stand by mine. And Geordi got shamed by it. He realized, yeah, you know what? You're right. And in the end, he admits it. And he says, look, I'm not disappointed in you, Sydney. I'm disappointed in myself that I'm not the person I used to be in a way. It's like, I would have done what you are doing when I was your age. Stand by your crew. He's upset that he didn't do it at first, but he's proud of her for standing up for what she believed and her Starship family. She is his daughter, and he recognizes it. Lastly, Data, or the new version of Data. So Alton Soong, of course, planned to sort of transfer his consciousness to the golem he had built. But he gave that golem to Picard and put Picard's consciousness in that golem. His original intention was like, I'm going to, become kind of immortal and become my own legacy. And then eventually he realized, what, that's wrong. He says that's poor humanity and poor science. He realized that evolution is not about preservation of what you are. It's about the addition of something new, continuing a line and making it better than it was before. So when he made the new Data, He combined all the aspects of law, before, lore, and just a whole lot of data. And his hope was that, given time, given wisdom, because now he's made this new data the same way that Picard is, able to age and able to grow and able to gain knowledge. He's hopeful that this new being, this new data, will become the best of all of them and, become that new being in evolution. So there's just really good, really good themes throughout this. Just another solid episode. I wish I could find some more stuff that I don't like, but I really just liked all of it. I do want to know what's in that bay that Alondra mentioned. She said we have something. I think it was in Bay 12. Um, I'm hoping Jordan rebuilt the Enterprise D. It's got to be. It's the Enterprise D has got to show up. It's got to show up. I think it's going to happen. So until the next time, questions, comments, witticisms down below. Click like, click share, click subscribe, and I'll see you later.